From the age of 10, everything I did was driven by one ultimate goal. I wanted a girlfriend. To be precise, I wanted one I liked. Before I turned into a teenager, I had plenty of girlfriends. In fact, some of my best friends were girls. However, something radically shifted when we all started hitting double digits in life years. Suddenly, my girlfriends slowly moved on. Instead, I witnessed how they started feeling attracted towards a lot of other boys. There was obviously something wrong with me. I clearly wasn't good enough for the girls I liked, is what I thought. As a 10-year-old, I simply couldn't think of any other explanation for what was happening. For a period of 25 years from that moment, I have been chasing my dream of having a romantic relationship. I did everything I could, of which I thought I needed to do to make that happen, including radically changing my looks, my behavior, and my actions. I finally got my first girlfriend at the age of 16. However, it only lasted for 3 months. Then, the same thing happened again when I was 18 years old. After that, I didn't have any girlfriends for 10 years. At least none that lasted longer than a few nights. At the age of 28, I had another 2 romantic relationships, but both also failed within months again. At the age of 31, I finally managed to have my first romantic relationship that lasted longer than a few months. However, also that one eventually ended. For a quarter century, I was on a mission, and I failed again and again and again to get what I wanted the most. To make matters worse, I had no idea what I was doing wrong. In fact, I would throw everything I had at the romantic relationships that I did have. I regularly surprised my girlfriend with gifts, trips away, and even week-long vacations all over the world. I now know, however, that during those 25 years, I always forgot to give my girlfriend one important thing: my actual self. I never gave them the actual 16-year-old Jeff, or the 18-year-old Jeff, the 28-year-old Jeff, or even Jeff, the 31-year-old. Instead, what I did give my girlfriends was the 10-year-old Jeff, which was the version of me still thinking that I wasn't likable or good looking enough to have a girlfriend. Regardless of my actual age, as soon as I would go into any romantic relationship, my 10-year-old self would instantly be activated and start taking over my entire experience of life. What did that look like? Well, I constantly feared that one day my girlfriend would realize she had made a mistake by dating me. In my mind, I wasn't good enough after all. As a result, I would do anything I could think of to impress my girlfriend. Hence, the gifts and the trips. After anything I would give or do, I would eagerly be awaiting my girlfriend's response. I was always only wanting one response for that matter: approval. Or in other words, I was looking for any sign that would make me believe and feel that I was good enough. To me, that's all that ever mattered. I was constantly longing for responses of kind, loving words or actions from my girlfriend. I felt the desperate need for any indication that my girlfriend still liked me, because that would enable me to feel safe and secure again. Without it, I even struggled sleeping, as I would constantly be worrying about what my girlfriend would be thinking of and whether our relationship was in jeopardy. I believe there is nothing wrong with wanting to surprise your romantic partner with nice things or actions. However, I do believe it becomes a problem if you're doing it out of fear, which is exactly what I did. I was constantly afraid of losing my girlfriend, which motivated me to do whatever I could think of to impress her and prevent my worst nightmare becoming a reality. This is where it gets even more interesting. As part of my behavior, I would start to take on the role of a hero in my romantic relationships. Whenever I even had the slightest impression that my girlfriend was suffering from any kind of problem, whether big or small, I wanted to solve it for her. The more I could be of meaning to my girlfriend and her life, the more opportunities I saw to get approval from her of me being the one, and the better I could feel about myself. In all my cases, my girlfriend always gladly accepted whatever I would offer her or do for her. My savior behavior always seemed to work. However, what ended up happening time after time is that it would never take long before I transitioned from my so-called hero role into a victim role. I became the victim of my own behavior because I got myself stuck in a never-ending loop. Regardless of what I would do or give my girlfriend, I never felt like it was enough to make me feel safe and secure in the relationship for long. This loop was both physically as well as mentally exhausting. As a result, I would then start catching myself complaining to my friends about how my girlfriends were using up all my energy and even resources. I started blaming my girlfriends for the way I felt, while in fact everything I did was my own decision. Blaming others for your own unhappiness is the #1 characteristic trait of a victim. As soon as I would transition from hero to victim, my relationships always rapidly spiraled downward from that point onwards. No one wants to be around victim energy after all. Nowadays, I no longer blame any of my ex-girlfriends anymore for always accepting my generous amounts of energy, time, attention, or resources. In fact, I can imagine myself having done exactly the same if I would have been in their shoes. I never told any of them, after all, how dependent I felt upon my actions and their responses for me to feel at ease in the relationship. So, ultimately, did I end up succeeding in my mission of getting a girlfriend? No. I still have the dream to find a romantic partner I can share this life with. However, I am not dedicating my entire life to it anymore, like I used to. As I said in my previous video, if it happens, I will consider it as a great bonus. Additionally, I have 2 more side notes to that question and answer whether I succeeded in my mission of getting a girlfriend. The first side note is that I do not like to use the word getting in saying getting a girlfriend, as nowadays to me that sounds very possessive, while I no longer will ever consider another person, or in this case a romantic partner, as a possession. However, I use the word getting for my lack of knowing a better word to use. The second side note is the most helpful for you to remember. That is that I have actually gotten something else that I consider at least as valuable as I can imagine a romantic partner to share your life with could be. After 25 years, I have finally gotten my sense of being good enough back. Or in other words, I have found my sense of self-love again, which I had dropped at the age of 10. The fact that I have been able to break a 25-year-long downward spiral is thanks to me reconnecting to my essential quality of me being love. In my recent videos, I've been talking a lot about essential qualities. One of the main reasons why I'm so passionate about this topic and the process of reconnecting to our essence is because I believe it is literally essential for anyone who desires a thriving romantic relationship. I feel certain that most of us feel a desire to be part of a thriving romantic relationship. Unfortunately, in my surrounding, I continue to witness rather more declining romantic relationships compared to the amount of thriving ones. By listening to other people's stories and experiences, I have come to discover that a lack of self-love from one person, or sometimes even both, will cause almost any romantic relationship to fall apart eventually. Based on my conversations with people that are part of a thriving romantic relationship, the opposite also seems to be proven. When both people in a relationship are aware and connected to their essential qualities and are therefore not suffering from a lack of self-love, then there is a high likelihood of the relationship becoming a long, thriving one. Remember, self-love can easily be lost as we grow up and live our life. In fact, it is more common we do lose it somewhere along the way than not. Most people who have lost it often don't even realize they did until whatever loop they got caught in as a result becomes too much to handle. I experienced this firsthand myself. There is good news, however. It is possible for anyone who has lost his or her sense of self-love to pick it up again where it once got lost. There are great techniques and experiences available to help us with this process. If you are interested to know what I've done to find my self-love again, then please send me a message. I'll then happily share some more in-depth and extensive details about that process with you. If you simply feel called to share your experience with romantic relationships or reflect on anything I just shared, please also send me a message. I would love to hear your story. If you feel like you know a friend who really needs to see this video, do your friend a great favor by forwarding this video to him or her. By doing so, you might save your friend from falling into the same trap as me and help your friend become part of a rather thriving romantic relationship.